What is up, my beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of the Be Original Show, exclusively on WBDY. I'm your host, Kevin Oriole, aka DJ KO Yo, and if you're a fan of smoking hot classic rock and heavy blues, well, you're in for a delicious treat today. It's as if we've teleported back to the 70s. Imagine muscle cars, Harleys, denim jackets, Daisy Dukes, long hair, and rock music that was raw, pulsing, and so very sexy. Great songs, incredible musicianship, rough but positive lyrics makes this artist one to follow and support for any music fan craving that classic rock sound delivered in a fresh, new way. Today in the studio, we have Rev DeSiotto and Chuck Kozlowski from the band The Revenants, and we'll be listening to their song Drifting Away right here on the WBDY show, Be Original.
I know this is over. You can't hide it anymore.
So we have Rev and Chuck in the studio. The way I came across the band was I was looking on Instagram and just kind of flipping away and came across some great blues. And I was like, wow, I have to have these guys on. Rev, I think I've seen you before. Are you guys both from the Binghamton area?
Oh, well, Chuck is I think a lifelong resident of here.
Yep, I'm originally from Binghamton, yep.
I grew up in Connecticut, and I moved to the area about 5.5 years ago. And really lucked out by hooking up with Chuck and Mike, my bandmates in Revenants, because they had already been playing together, and were looking for somebody who wrote music to work with.
How did that come about? How did you guys meet?
Well, Mike Thompson and I had, we've been playing together now for about 10 years. And our previous band was Grace's Ghost, and that dissolved a few years back. And I caught Rev playing with another band locally, and he was just picking up gigs here and there just to get into the scene. And Mike and I were looking for a original singer, songwriter, guitarist, and there it was, full package. I was like, I gotta talk to this guy. So it worked out good. We've been hitting it off pretty well.
Yeah, and I got to walk into a situation where there was a rhythm section that had already been working together and played well together. I think it was a real synergistic moment for everybody concerned. Like everybody had what everybody else needed.
And what brought you to the Binghamton area?
The love of my life. Beautiful woman who I married 1.5 years ago.
It sounds familiar. I have the same story. I'm from New York City, and I came here for the love of a woman.
Isn't it? Well, it's a great area, though. I mean, I've had friends out here for almost 30 years, and my old bands used to come out and play. And so for a long time, as I was getting sick of where I lived in Connecticut, this started to look more and more like a place where I'd be happy anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I wound up starting this relationship with my now wife, and I think just the universe wanted me to be here. So,
and I'm realizing now that the luck has turned back my way, because I had two bands, one in the late 90s and one in the early 2000s, that broke up because a spouse in one band got a job out of state. And then a spouse to be was going off to college in another state. So there went those two bands. So now I've got a band that actually started out of bringing someone here to fall in love, not take off with their spouse.
So when you see his wife, you're like, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
And actually, we got to play at my wedding.
So who else is in the band?
You're looking at 2/3 right here, and Mike Thompson. We call him. We nickname him White Chocolate on bass guitar and backing vocals, and that's it. With the occasional guest, we like to have some guests that sit in with us once in a while live.
Who's playing organ? Or keys?
That's Mike Melnick. He plays around. He's sort of a local hero.
Guru.
Guru. Up at the studio, we used to record his parts. Jeff Stahira refers to him as the professor. He's kind of one of these guys who, I didn't even have to tell him what keys the songs were in. He walked in and he just played the songs, like, without even having heard them. It's either a testament to what a genius he is or how simple my tunes are.
No, I think it sounds genius.
Thanks.
The playing on it is pretty incredible. The guitar is smoking. The bass player is crazy. The keyboard organist, great. The drums. You guys are really, really seasoned. Has this been the music that you've always played, or are you kind of like doubling down and not moving towards, whatever the modern sound is and kind of going back and making it fresh?
Man, I'm so old. I don't even know what the modern sound is at this point. I have a hard time writing or creating music that's not 100% from the heart and authentic. So I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin, so you just played Drifting Away, which I was kind of going for something that maybe had kind of a vibe like Dazed and Confused. I've always loved the blues. As a white guy who grew up in the suburbs, I don't feel I have any right to call myself a blues guy.
Did you grow up in Connecticut?
I grew up in Connecticut, yep.
Okay.
My dad was kind of a successful yuppie kind of guy, so I have no legitimate claim to say I'm a blues guy, but that's
you fake it pretty well.
Well, it's been a big piece of what I always listened to, and more contemporary bands. I'm a big fan of Government Mule. I love the Black Crowes, and I feel like that's kind of just where my music lands.
Where did the music start for you?
Well, I was a saxophone player in middle school and high school. I was in the marching band. I played alto and tenor saxophone. But by the time I was in high school, I was already playing guitar, and my friends and I were getting together and playing terrible versions of rock and roll cover tunes. I've got to record the absolute worst recording ever of a bunch of 15-year-old kids playing "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd. I still have. We picked random letters out of a hat and came up with the name for the band "Cause Perfumzil." that was my first band ever. We lasted for two rehearsals.
The good old days.
Yep.
How about you, Chuck? When did music start for you?
Well, I've been playing drums since I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was blessed with a brother who's 10 years older than me, and he took lessons locally from Tony Monfort. Local drummers will know that name. He's passed, but he was huge in the area, and my brother just taught me. He let me play on his kit all I wanted, and I got to hand it to my mom and dad too. They put up with 2 kids playing drums.
I was gonna say, I was like, what did your folks think about it?
Yep, my mom encouraged it, and my dad put up with it. Let's put it that way. But my perspective as a drummer in my adult life is I just want to find the best musicians I can find. The musical style doesn't really make that much of a difference. I've played those couple bands I mentioned, the Big Ear, which turned into the Other Ear, that was kind of like a hippie jam band vibe, and the second band was Dog Heaven, which was kind of like prog almost metal, kind of like prog grunge metal, and then Grace's Ghost was more like singer-songwriter, but kind of come full circle to this, like Rev was mentioning, Zeppelin. That's what I grew up on, was Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, and all those great heavy bands from the late 60s, early 70s. So this is like totally natural. It's not out of my comfort zone at all.
There's a real authenticity to the music. Like when you hear it, it's like it sounds fresh, because I think that you have your heart and soul into it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's dive into another song, because you've got a bunch of great music here. What do we got? We got the Sexy Dynamite song happening. Tell us a little bit about this track.
So most of the stuff we're doing right now, I'm the songwriter on this one. Started off as just a collection of riffs over a blues chord progression that our bass player Mike Thompson came up with, And he's such a great musician. He records these things as demos, where he actually plays the drums and the bass and the guitar. Like, you bring it to us, and it's like, well, what do you need us for?
He's one of those guys, huh?
He's one of those guys, yeah. That's great.
And also one of the nicest guys on the planet too. Just fun to hang out with. But anyway, so he brings that to me, and I instantly said, well, that's going to be fun. And I sat down one night and just banged out some lyrics. I thought, usually I'm trying to make some kind of a statement. I try to put a little bit of, I don't know, social commentary into some of my stuff. But you hear a song like this, got a funky riff, and it's more like, man, let's just let this one be fun. So it's one of those, kind of hey baby kind of songs.
Yeah, definitely. Super sexy. All right, let's check out Dynamite right here on the Be Original Show, WBDY 99.5 FM. That was Dynamite by the Revenants. So is this the first album that you're putting out together as a group?
Yeah, that's right. We've been together a little over 2 years. And I'll admit, I like to write songs, and I think when I'm good, I'm okay. But I'm not a prolific. I'm not like Lennon and McCartney, writing 400 songs. In addition to this, I have a day job, but I also write books.
Oh.
So I spend,
what's your genre?
Science fiction, fantasy, and steampunk.
Oh, cool.
I've got several books out, and I'm always working on one. And so it becomes sort of a thing of trying to prioritize my time.
Yeah.
And I definitely sometimes feel guilty that I'm not cranking out more songs for the band, because I know these guys want to be, and I do too. You get to a certain point in your life and you say, how much more of this do I get to do? How many more books do I get to put out? How many more records do I get to make? And no, seriously, and I think about that. And so, well, I'm on a push now. I want to get a couple more tunes so we can finish this and make it a full record.
How long has this process been, writing these songs? And you said that you have a few more songs to do before you put out the full album?
Yeah, well, so we've recorded 6 songs so far. And that's kind of what we have. The one we just played, funny thing about that one, it was a collection of riffs until the day we recorded it. It was literally the first time in my life that I had ever recorded a song that had never been played out before.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we haven't played that one out.
We still haven't played it out.
But the other ones, we've been playing out, for the better part of the last year or so.
And how did that feel, putting it together?
It was just a different kind of a process, because in the past, you write a song and you play it at rehearsal for a while, and you play it on gigs, and you play the song maybe 30 times in front of people, and you got a real feel for it. And this time around it was just like, hey, let's just try that thing. I'm kind of in the corner of the room, like kind of making a little roadmap. All right, we'll do this here, and we'll do this here, and we'll do this here. You guys okay with that? We just sat down and played it, and I think it came out great. And I'm happy with it, but it was a sort of a strange new direction to be going in. I've never done something like that before.
Wow, very cool. Let's talk a little bit about Back to Stay.
All right.
What
do you want to know?
Well, it's definitely got like a kind of a 60s vibe.
Yeah. I heard Manic Depression from Hendrix when he first pitched it to me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to go for the Manic Depression type drum feel to this.
It's a great sound, and it just brought me right back to that time with Go-Go Girls and and Free Love and Rock, and So was that the idea behind it? Like, how did that song come together?
Yeah, you actually nailed it. I was thinking Jimi Hendrix. The band that Chuck heard me subbing with did, was it Let the Good Times Roll? Jimi Hendrix did a version of that. And that's kind of where my head was at. I was at a concert. I saw it was a show that had Buddy Guy and Christone Ingram and Kenny Wayne Shepherd. And I kind of came home from that and wrote this kind of bluesy thing, but I wanted it to have that kind of really fast, almost
Like frenetic
kind of Jimi Hendrix kind of a vibe to it. And then the lyrics, Back to Stay. I got married one time before. It didn't work out quite so well, and during that time, things were not so happy, and I quit music for about 2 years. So Back to Stay is sort of like that. Even though now it's 10 years ago that I got back into playing. Still kind of talking about just that feeling like, man, how could I have stopped doing this? This is too important to me.
And I think people could vibe with that, with following your passions, and it's the 9-to-5 job is not everything, and following what you really love is super important for a happy life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Work to live, live to work.
That's right. All right, let's check out Back to Stay right here on WBDY's Be Original.
Hey, hey, hey.
If you're just joining us, you just heard Back to Stay, followed up by Lies by the band The Revenants, who are in the studio with us today on the Be Original show. So I've seen on Instagram, where I get most of my news, apparently all my world revolves around Instagram, and I've seen you guys playing locally. Talk about a little bit about the gigs that you're playing, and then also what is lying ahead for 2024 this summer.
Okay, well, we get a mix of some of the cool sort of more public gigs and just sort of your run of the mill, not to make anybody sound bad, right? But you kind of standard issue, playing in a bar kind of things. We play
bar gigs.
Yeah. We play at a place called Nips on the south side of Binghamton, which is challenging in terms of fitting the band in there, but
It's a small place.
Is it a small place?
Yeah.
it's very small. Yeah, and I have a tendency to use large amplifiers.
But it just feels like home there. And,
That's great.
We're friends with the owner, and the bar staff are great. So it's kind of like a home base kind of gig almost.
That's very cool.
But then we've got some cool things coming up. We're going to be playing in August at the Rec Park Music Fest. What's that?
Nice. That's always a good gig.
Music Fest, yep.
August 18th, I
I
think.
think August 18th.
And we play at 3:00. We're trying to secure a couple of guest stars, one or two anyway, to sit in with us.
Yeah, we had a blast playing Blues on the Bridge last year.
That's where I think I saw you guys there. I remember you, Rev, because you have an interesting look, and I was like, I've seen him somewhere.
Yeah.
So how was that? That's a great gig.
It is.
Loved it. I mean, I sure hope they want us back this year. I understand they might, want to change their lineup, but we had a blast playing.
Had perfect weather.
Weather was perfect. It's a big stage. It's so much fun when especially with the stuff that we play. I think it's we're probably not. It's not unfair to say we're in sort of a sinking genre as our demographic ages out. But
I don't know. Everything kind of comes around again. Like for a while, everything sounded like the '80s. So I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, you never know. But so, anyways, we get to play in this big stage, and I get to have my Marshall stack behind me, and it feels good. And I don't know, as a band, we still haven't played so many gigs that we still get. I still get up there, and I feel excited to play with these guys, and it's fun. Like I trust them, and they could go out there and. I'm the master of the 4-minute song with the 5-minute guitar solo, So Blues on the Bridge was wonderful, and it was really nice to get off the stage and have Donnie, who runs the event, sort of gushing and be really complimentary and like I don't know that he expected much from us, and so that was a great one. And then I think another one we got coming up in September. We're supposed to do Music in the Glen out in what's that, Glenwood Park or
Glendale Park.
Glendale Park out
the site of our first ever gig.
The first gig we ever had
2 summers back. Yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
It's in what's that, Endicott?
Yeah.
And we got one in September there. sort of a little bit contingent because our bass player is the head track coach at the university, and they'll sort of be back in session at that point. So yeah, we're hoping he can still do it, but we booked it, and there'll be plenty of time for them to find somebody else if we can. So
I was going to ask, is there any plans to tour? I mean, the band, you guys sound so great. I mean, I could see it going, traveling around.
Yeah, so we're definitely a southern tier band, so we try to like stretch the area, you know, and play. We play out at Beer Tree Farm out in Port Crane to the east, and then out to the west. We love playing the Ransom Steel Tavern at least once or twice a year. We're going to play at the Dugout a couple nights outdoor this summer. Couple gigs over the border down in Pennsylvania. We played at the Keir Family Distillery last year. We're going to play there, I think, on July 6th. And then we got one coming up at the other brewery there in Great Bend, the bar at...
it used to be, it's the barbecue place.
Right.
Is it Red Rocks?
Red Rock Barbecue.
Red Rock's Barbecue,
Yeah,
yeah.
they have an outdoor thing there.
Any festivals?
Other than Rec Park, I don't think we got anything going.
Yeah, we got an invitation to play at the Strawberry Fest, which is
Yeah.
next week, but
Right.
this is the season where Mike is on the road with his track team. So we're not young guys. We got jobs and wives and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I suppose if somebody was to dangle a big check in front of us,
Yeah.
but right now we're just making music to make music.
Yeah, maybe we should branch out to Brewery on the Gang for what they're like summer series sometime. Maybe do something like that. But yeah.
Okay, booking agents out there, if there's any, you guys gotta jump on these guys. These guys are awesome.
Yeah. Also, if you're putting out the ad for that, then keyboard players.
Permanent keyboard, but that's a high standard you got going on there.
it is.
I mean, all the players are just amazing. Let's jump into Not My Life. What's that track about?
Well, I was listening probably to a bunch of Government Mule at the time, and listening to Warren Haynes play slide guitar, and I'm a terrible slide guitar player, but I get by
You
sometimes.
think you're a terrible.
Well, fair enough. Whatever.
To me, it sounded like a kind of like a modern take on a blues song, especially because of the lyrics. Like you start off, I forget what the lines are, but you'll start lyrics and then there'll be some music and then the lyrics and music, and the way that it's broken up, it's kind of like a classic blues, but it's done in a different way. It's very interesting.
Yeah, in fact, one thing I'd like to do, I want to record an intro with me playing slide on like a dobro guitar, and these guys playing, so we sound more like a Robert Johnson kind of a thing, just kind of playing that riff a little bit and let that move into the song. We just haven't had time to do that yet. And lyrically, it's really about, being stuck living in this life where you have to have a job. I don't know why I would complain about that. And you have to do what other people want you to do all the time. And it's, that's why it's called Not My Life. It's, don't let other people take that piece of you away that makes you who you are.
Love it. Love the positive vibes. All right, this is the Revenants and Not My Life right here on the Be Original Show. All right, that was Not My Life by the Revenants. So although you have a very classic sound, we still do live in the modern age. So what are your socials, your platforms, your websites, all that good stuff so people can go and check out your music?
Well, it starts with RevDeserto.com.
Yeah,
right?
RevDeserto.com.
Slash music.
That's my author webpage, but there's a page dedicated to this band on that page.
So that's REVDICERTO. Did I spell?
Yep. .com
Okay,
/ music. Yep.
/ music. Okay, great.
Yep. We're there, so that's a good place, and of course you can always check out my books.
Yeah.
And
I gotta jump in and say I love this guy's writing style. I'm not just saying that. I've read 2 of his books so far, and I absolutely love them. It's what I look for as far as grabbing you in the first page and being engaging all the way through. I just had to say that.
So we'll do another one of these where I read from one of my books.
Yeah. So folks can find the music and the books under the same website?
Correct, yeah. There's a page on RevDeserto.com that has everything for the Revenants. So always be a current schedule posted. I update that every time we play a gig and book something else. And then we're on Facebook. I don't know if we have a specific, like, do we have an alias on Facebook?
It's just Revenants.
Okay.
Just Revenants. You might have to say Revenants Band Binghamton or something like that. But,
Okay.
it's just Revenants.
I guess that's about it for
Pretty much.
yeah.
And what's your next show?
Oh boy.
Next show, May 31st at Abel's Pub out back in the patio.
All right.
Yeah. Hope
That's
for
nice.
weather.
That's nice and intimate. That's going to be a good.
Yeah, that's a
good
very
party.
cool place to play.
Well, we're too loud to play inside, so we have to only play there in the summer.
And there's about as much room in there as Nips, maybe even less. So, yeah, we book outdoors there so we can play out on the patio. It's a good scene.
Very, very cool. Well, you guys are, really super talented. The music is fantastic. I love it. Wish you guys only the best. We're going to go out with one song, which is totally different. Like the other songs are like really kind of gravelly and rocky, and this one's a little bit sweeter. Talk about Walk With Me.
Oh, I'm sitting in my room where I write, my little office, and I'm strumming my acoustic guitar, and I came up with this nice little sort of an acoustic guitar riff, I guess, with a chord thing, and it sounded really pretty. And as I started messing around with words, it started to become a love song, and it's for my wife.
Hey man, that's really beautiful. Thank you to Rev, thank you to Chuck for spending some time with us and sharing their music. Definitely for the music fans out there, check out the Revenants as they perform throughout the area this summer and this year. And we will see you next week with another great band. My name is Kevin Oriole, aka DJ KO Yo. Be adventurous, be creative, be original. I'll see you next week.
I've watched you hide. I know you cried. You thought that's all you